everybody, and welcome to the Football Philosophy channel, and this is the Rating show after the 0-0 draw at Stamford Bridge Sunday afternoon. I said before the game it was vital that United didn't lose that game. I'm not looking up the table anymore, especially having if you call it dropped 2 points. You know, it's a tough game at Chelsea away. We're not beating any of the big teams, are we? As it goes on this season, we've now played 7 games against teams out of the other supposed top 6. We've scored 1 goal in 7 matches against Spurs, and that was in the very first game of the 7, if you like. It was also in the very first couple of minutes. So it's really like 7 full matches have gone by since we scored against one of the big 6 teams. Obviously, we haven't won any of those games. We haven't scored in any of them, but we have drawn 5 of them, and we've only lost twice. Last year, though, a lot of Ollie's success, if you like, well, it was success getting us into, to finish in the Champions League places, was regarded as success from where we were at one stage in the season. But a lot of it was built on good performances and good wins against the big clubs. I mean, we beat Chelsea twice, home and away, and we beat City home and away last season. So there's 12 points there just from 4 games, and we've had 7 games against the others from the big 6 so far this season and only taken 5 points. Whether that's going to improve or not, I don't know. Obviously, this coming weekend we've got City. The form City are in, I'd be amazed if we beat them. Again, I'd probably be happy to take a draw. But getting back to yesterday, I said before the game, we really need to be looking behind us and worrying about, I'm going to speak about this at the end of the show, we need to be looking behind us and concentrating on getting in the top 4, making sure other teams don't overtake us. The chances of catching City now are virtually minimal. We've got to win as many games as we can. If City do slip up, they're going to need to slip up a few times for us to get anywhere near them. So I don't see that happening. So I'm not even looking up the table. As I say, I'm going to look at the table and what's happening this week in the Premier League at the end of this show. But just jumping ahead to that, City play Wolves tomorrow in the league, and I'm not. Look, it'd be great if they drop points, but I'm not even looking at it really and hoping for them to drop points. If it happens, it happens. They're out of our reach, and I don't see them getting clawed back into our reach. So if that happens tomorrow, fantastic. But I'm not. I'm expecting it so little that I'm hardly even hoping for it. Put it that way. So the ratings from that game at Chelsea, where, as I say, it's difficult after the game saying, oh, we should have done better. There was actually some good passages of play from both teams, but there's also some very scruffy patches of play where they'd only complete 2 passes and give it to us, or we'd take it off and then we'd only keep it for a couple of passes and give it back to them. There were times in the game where you would think, this isn't 2 teams from the top league in the world, or supposedly the top league in the world, although there were some good passages of play from both sides. But as I say, before the game, I said I'd be happy to take a point. We need to keep them 6 points behind us. We've kept them 6 points behind them. A defeat would have been disastrous. Top 4 really would have been a lot more in the balance, I think, if we'd have lost yesterday. Just getting that draw against Chelsea just makes it a little bit more solid, our position, I think, and keeping them 6 points behind us was a right bonus. We've got Palace away during the week. They've got Liverpool, so fingers crossed. We could stretch our lead. Obviously, Chelsea and Liverpool could draw. We could stretch our lead over both of them by beating Palace. So let's get to it. Rating the ratings from the Manchester Evening News. David De Gea, it says a great save from Ziyech, particularly as he was moving in the opposite direction in one of the game's key moments. Yes, I suppose that's correct. They've given him an 8. I always say they get at least a 7 if they keep a clean sheet, and I don't think that it was a good save, but I don't think that one good save in my book puts it up to a very good performance. I would just say he played well, David De Gea, and on my ratings that means he deserves a 7. So I'd give him a 7, David De Gea. Wan-Bissaka, regressing, it says, has not kicked on since impressive performances against Arsenal and Southampton. Harry Maguire was on his case for sloppiness, it says, and give him a 5. It's difficult straight after the game. On my fan cam on the United stand, when speaking to Flex, I actually picked Aaron Wan-Bissaka as my man of the match. I've watched the game again since then. I always say it's impossible straight after the game. I wouldn't give him man of the match now, having watched it again. But I do think that's harsh. Regressing, has not kicked on. Harry Maguire on his case for his sloppiness. Look, everybody was sloppy. Luke Shaw took a couple of very loose touches. And I'm pretty sure they're raving about Luke Shaw when I come to Luke Shaw. But I would say Adam Wan-Bissaka at least had a decent game, or even a good game. So I would say a good game really overall, and a good is 7 for me. So I'm giving Wan-Bissaka a 7. Victor Lindelof, Chelsea targeted Lindelof from the off, but had little joy, and his positioning was sound next to Harry Maguire. They've given him a 6. I thought the centre backs were fine yesterday. It was a tough game. I've given him a 7. Victor Lindelof. I always say you can't just pin look at one situation in the game, but you can mention them, of course. And it was a fantastic clearance from the edge of his own 6-yard box where he just deflected it wide for a corner. As I think it was Vernon that was closing in on the far post. It was a brilliant piece of defensive play by Lindelof. And the referee, for some unknown reason, didn't realise it was Lindelof that had got his boot to it, and he actually gave a goal kick. So he sort of stole a bit of limelight, if you like, from Lindelof by thinking it was the striker that beat him to the ball. But Lindelof did brilliant at that moment. As I say, I'm not saying it for that one single moment. I thought he was sound throughout the game, Lindelof. I would say he played well, which is a 7. Harry Maguire, they've said he lost Giroud for Hudson-Odoi's cross. The removal of Giroud freed up Maguire and he was more composed. They've given him a 6. I think a 7 for Harry Maguire as well. I thought the back four all played quite well. Look, a clean sheet away to Chelsea. You've got to play okay. You can't be all playing badly and getting a clean sheet away to Chelsea. Luke Shaw, outstanding defending to deny Giroud in the first 5 minutes, it says, and are never present in the final third. United's best outfield player. I wouldn't say that really on this occasion. I would say he played as well as the other defenders, but not better. And as I've just said it, I saw a couple of particularly loose touches from Luke Shaw, 3 I think, as I remember. And I don't think he was quite as on fire as he has been. He did get to the dead ball line, no, and fired a great ball across the face of the 6-yard box. I remember that. But I think he just played well. I don't think he was an 8. I would say a 7. Scott McTominay looked like someone who had one training session after injury. Patently not match fit and stayed on longer than he should have. Well, he stayed on for the full 90 minutes, so whether they thought he came off or not, they've given him a 5. I don't agree with that. I don't think he was quite himself, Scott McTominay. But again, it's not like you're playing, second division team in the cup. We're playing Chelsea away, who haven't yet lost under the new manager. It was a real tough game, and I thought McTominay, okay, a couple of sloppy passes like anyone else. So I don't think he was that bad at all. He was strong. He was quick. Could have done better on the breakaway at the end, but Reece James, I think it was Reece James that was blocking his path, and he did really well. Reece James, he angled his body so that as he was staying so far in front of McTominay that if McTominay wanted to play it across the front of Reece James, had he done that, it probably would have gone straight to the keeper. So yeah, he obviously don't want to kick it at him. So he crossed it behind Reece James, and with it being behind him, it was difficult then for the United players to react and slow down and get hold of it, and the chance was gone. Could have done better, without a doubt, but I think Reece James deserves credit on that occasion for making it difficult for McTominay to play the ball where he really wanted to play it, i.e. just in front of the forwards. He couldn't get it just in front of him because that would have hit Reece James. It had to be well in front of him, and he decided to cut it behind Reece James. And when he cut it behind Reece James, it was then behind the strikers, really, that were running in. But they've given McTominay a 5. I've given him a 6. Fred, they've given a 6-2. Disciplined enough, was never going to have an impact amid United's sterile domination. Sterile domination, eh? And curled a shot just wide. He did curl a shot just wide, but if they're mentioning a shot, why don't they mention the shot that he struck really well? Fred's... I've been known to say on occasion that if I was the manager, I'd fine Fred for having a shot. His shooting is so poor so often, it really is. It's abysmal. But yesterday, in one game, he struck 2 shots, one with each foot, by the way, which were better than his normal efforts curling one with his right foot that they're talking about went probably a yard wide, or maybe nearly a yard wide. But he also hit one in the last minute of injury time that he hit really well, and the keeper with his strong foot, and the keeper had to punch it away. He couldn't even take a chance at catching it. So that was a decent effort. So they're saying he curled a shot just wide. Why are they mentioning that one? If I was going to mention a shot from Fred, I would say it was the one that he thundered at the keeper with his left peg, and the keeper struggled with it a bit. But overall, I would agree with the 6. I don't think they've given Fred a 6 and Scott McTominay a 5. I don't think there was much to choose between them. I would go 6 each, I would say, on that one. Bruno lingered with intent. Lingered with intent, what do I mean by that, I wonder. But Chelsea were quick to suffocate him on a condensed pitch. Condensed pitch, eh? There wasn't a lot of room at times, but occasionally there was. I remember one pass where he broke away and he tried to give it Rashford and he overhit it and Rashford couldn't keep it in. There was a few slack moments from Bruno, I thought. That the magic moment never arrived. If the magic moment would have arrived, and you say he would have scored the winner, even if it was a penalty, by the way, they probably would have given him 7 or 8, but they've given him a 5, and I wouldn't disagree with that. I would say a 5 for Bruno. I don't get this one. Dan James, they've also given a 5 to. He's the only one of our... I mean, I've given 7 to the keeper and all the back 4. Apart from the keeper and the back 4, Dan James is the only one for me, you know, outside the back 4, who also gets a 7. They've given him a 5. Pressed eagerly off the ball, but did not impress on the ball. Attentive to Solskjaer's instructions and selflessness ensured he stayed on, giving him a 5. Well, I remember him beating his full back and putting a really good low cross in, and the keeper fumbled it, and Greenwood was almost onto it. And not only was Greenwood almost onto it, but the keeper had to take it on a second leap forward. If somebody else had been coming in at the same speed as Greenwood, we might have got a goal there. I also remember a decent cross from the right, because we didn't get many decent crosses in, that Bruno challenged for in the air, and he got beat in the air. I remember Dan James having a shot that got deflected. It was a decent shot. It got deflected for a corner. Some of our players had shots that weren't as good as that. Got deflected for a corner. Also, when Greenwood had a shot, the shot that went about a yard wide with his left foot, it was a lovely little layoff by Dan James that gave Greenwood the opportunity to get that shot in. I thought Dan James was comfortably the pick of our, let's call it the back 4 and the front 6, even though 2 of the midfield players are a bit more defensive. Let's call it the back 4 and the front 6. Dan James was comfortably the pick of our front 6 for me. And I've mentioned a few things that were good on the ball. They've said he didn't impress on the ball. And I do agree with him that he pressed eagerly and he absolutely worked his socks off. So in my book, Dan James gets a 7. Marcus Rashford, they've given a 5 to. Tested Edouard Mendy with a free kick in the first half and was let down by some of his teammates passing. Fortunate to stay on, they've said. I wouldn't disagree with a 5 for Marcus. I'll go with that, a 5 for Marcus. And then Mason Greenwood, quiet up front against a robust duo of Rudiger and Christensen. Livelier after half time and fired just wide. Predictably hooked for Anthony Martial, and they've given him a 6. I wouldn't say Mason was worth any more than, you know, the main attacking players are Bruno, Dan James, Marcus and Mason. And I wouldn't say Mason deserves any higher than Bruno and Marcus, who they've given a 5 to. So I would also give Mason a 5. I don't mark the subs unless they play half a game. But typical of the Evening News, they've given Anthony Martial a 5. Excuse me. And they said, added next to nothing to the United attack. That's all they've said. He only got about, I'm not going to mark him, he only got about 11 or 12 minutes. It's neither in nor there. I've never known the ball stay in play for so long, by the way. I noticed he was ready to come on. I was dying for him to come on. And he was ready to come on 71 minutes. And the ball stayed in play for what seemed like an eternity. He didn't get on till about 79 minutes. Ended up getting 11 minutes when it looked like he was going to get 18 or 19 minutes. So I think to mark him a 5. Look, they don't, every week what they say about Anthony Martial to me is shocking. And I don't know what they expect. And giving him a 5 and saying he added next to nothing when he was on the pitch 11 minutes. So there you go. That's what they think. I am going to do a player in focus. I'll use all 4 attacking players. So on Rick the Red, UK on Twitter. I will put up a poll sometime this evening, and then by tomorrow lunchtime I'll have the result, and I will do the usual thing, put some clips on Twitter. So just to explain it a bit deeper, I've had a few people asking me questions, why this and why the other. Bruno, Marcus and Mason have all got a 5. So if they come out on top, lots of people sometimes say to me, why are you only putting the poor ones up? Why are you not putting up the decent ones? And I do try and mix it up. You know, if someone's done something particularly good and I'm showing the poor ones, I do put 1 or 2. But people say, why don't you mix it up more? 3 of the players have got 5 out of 10 and one's got a 7 out of 10. So if one of the 3, which is Bruno, Marcus and Mason, gets voted to be the player in focus, I'll be actually showing mainly the things that they did poorly. That's why they've only got a 5. Whereas with Daniel, he's got a 7. So if he comes out as the top, you know, on top of the poll, I'll be showing a lot of the good things that he did to show why he got a 7. Hopefully that makes sense. So that'll be going up tonight. That's that on the player ratings. As I said, I'll have a quick look at the table, and well, not so much the table, but the fixtures. There's quite a few Premier League fixtures during the week this week. I noticed Everton have got 2 games. I think Everton are 10 points behind us in the table, and at the minute they've got 2 games in hand. You know, we've just drawn at Chelsea, which is a decent result, but we really need to beat Palace and keep a decent sized gap that's not looking like it's going to get closed up. Everton have got Southampton at home tonight, Monday night, but they're also at home again. They also play again on Thursday, so they're playing West Brom away on Thursday. Obviously we play Palace in between times. If Everton were to win those 2 games, and look, all Premier League fixtures can be difficult, but you do look at some fixtures and think they look winnable. Everton have got 2 fixtures that you would think are winnable this week. If they do manage to win them both, that'd put them 4 points behind us, plus, obviously for us, whatever we get from the Palace game. So we could do with that being 3 points to make that still a 7-point gap on Everton if they win those games. You know, they're not going to win them easily, but they may just win them. As I said, City play Wolves tomorrow. I'm not concerned about City now. I'm really not. If they lose, great. Or if they drop points, great. But I'm not concerned about them. I'm concerned about the teams behind us. I'm not mentioning all the fixtures. But all the ones who have even got an eye on possibly getting in the top 4. All these teams can't get in the top 4. There's too many of them. But all of them will have an eye on it and thinking we've got half a chance if we can string 5 or 6 results together. So on Wednesday, Villa are away to Sheffield United. And obviously our game is on Wednesday as well at 8:15. Our game away to Palace. As I said, Everton play Southampton tonight, and then West Brom on Thursday. And also on Thursday you've got Liverpool v Chelsea. Obviously both teams with, you know, a keen interest in the top 4 race. Probably be handy for us if that finished in a draw, really. So they're both dropping 2 points. But if either one of them, it's a good game for us. That I look at it that way. If either one of them wins and we beat Palace, it's putting it's putting daylight between us and Liverpool if they lose, or it's putting daylight between us and Chelsea if they lose. The most important thing, of course, is us beating Palace, and also Spurs won't have given up on it yet. Gareth Bale back in the team and back on form. You know, got 2 goals. They won 4-0 at the weekend. They're away to Fulham on Thursday. So again, I think Spurs have got a game in hand on us as well. 10 points behind us, if I remember rightly. I haven't got the table to hand, but it'll be a gap that they would think is closable. If we happen to drop points at Palace and they beat Fulham, they'll be thinking, well, they'll be looking at the top 4, not necessarily at us. I'm looking at us against them. So we need those 3 points, and just get all these teams who are going to try and creep up behind us. We need to keep them at arm's length and not be in a bit of a scramble for the top 4 come the end of the season. Because if we don't start putting some results together, I can easily see that happening. So that's that for today. I'll be back tomorrow with the Player in Focus show. As I said, the 4 players up for being the Player in Focus will be Bruno, Dan James, Marcus and Mason. That'll be going up on Rick the Red UK on Twitter this evening. So vote on that and see which player comes out on top. And I'll be doing that tomorrow. That's the player in focus. I hope you've enjoyed that show. If you've enjoyed that show, please subscribe. Please tell all your friends. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Keep stum.